So I feel like a lot of us have gotten this, especially women, that we need to downplay our brilliance. What is our zone of genius? And to turn down our light and to even protect other people. And I know I've done that in the past because I don't like that competition thing. We are all brilliant. Women are more likely to promote others than themselves. But when we do share our wins, it uplifts not only team performance, it uplifts our culture. And I feel like it gives that mentorship that we're really lacking in our life. We're lacking elders. We're lacking that. Who do we turn to that emulate the values and the characteristics that I would like to have within myself? Well, welcome to Intuition, Your Success Compass. I'm Vicki Baird, your host and wisdom-led mindset coach. This podcast is where intuition meets strategy and mindset meets meaning. I help smart, successful women stop overthinking and start trusting their inner wisdom, because your clarity, confidence, and next level life are already within you. With over 2 decades of coaching experience, a knack for systems, and a great gift for spotting what's off, be it a saboteur thought or an out of alignment choice, I'm here to help you connect your brilliant brain with your soul's knowing. You'll get grounded insights, a little humor, and real life tools to create change that actually sticks. Like your go-to morning brew, familiar, grounding, and the nudge you didn't know you needed. And I love coffee, so that works too. Welcome. Well, hello there, and thank you for joining me in this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass, where we are using our intuition to connect with our intelligence, our brain, to just live this life that can be so fulfilling when we allow it, when we learn how to allow it, and when we remove those messages, the wiring, change the wiring. You don't really have to remove your wiring, because then you just be this blank screen standing there. This week, we will be talking about tooting your horn, celebrating yourself, and why I really do believe that it's a service to the world when we are embodying our self-surety and our belief in ourselves, having fun with it, and being willing to be an example to others of what that may look like. And I had an experience just a couple days ago, which is why I decided to jump on and record this now. And please excuse the thunderstorm that's going on in the background. Hopefully we'll keep our power. But this is when I had time to record, so this is what we're doing. I recently witnessed myself minimizing the work that I have done to be as mentally, physically, emotionally, intuitively, all the adverbs, solid in myself, and be removing of the programs that were there installed in childhood, and then any of the trauma that had to be healed, and just the myriad of things that comes with being a human, right? So recently somebody said to me, I want to be you. I want to be as calm and as connected. And what's the other thing? I remember it being 3 C's: collected, connected, and calm. And I said to her, well, you're you. I come with my own wiring, which I truly believe. But then when I was repeating this to someone else, she very brilliantly said, no, whoa, girl, like, you get to take credit for the work that you've been doing. If she wants to be like you, she has to do her own personal work. And she has to look at the challenges that she's facing and the belief she has within herself. And it caught me in this moment of gratitude for her being willing to say it, because she actually said it as she was walking away from me, because we both had to get back to what we needed to do. And I don't think she understands, just even now, even though I expressed my gratitude already, the impact that made on me, because I have always minimized what has come easily to me. So whether it's, just understanding what people are going through, or heck, just figuring out what to do in an emergency. I'm really good in an emergency. I have always minimized that. And I know that some of it comes from, much like you probably, being raised to not toot my own horn, and being told by my mother, "You're such a smart aleck. Don't be so smart." And then being told to go do my sister's homework because she was in danger of failing. And my sister is 6 years older than I am. So there was quite the gap in education. And it was such a mixed message to me that I really felt that I understood. I know my mom's fears, and I was excited to do that when I was growing up, but it wasn't until later that I realized, well, that's a little bit of pressure to put on a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, and then the mixed messaging that's there, right? So I feel like a lot of us have gotten this, especially women, that we need to downplay our brilliance. What is our zone of genius? And to turn down our light, and to even protect other people. And I know I've done that in the past because I don't like that competition thing. We are all brilliant in who we are. I don't feel like we need to compete. And yet I understand that having mentors and understanding that there's another level of growth possible is my business. Don't you love the irony here? But you know what? That thinking is old, and it's keeping me, and probably you on some level, small within ourselves. And I have often said to my clients, you're not going to get a fat head and not be able to fit through the door if you give yourself a little bit of credit. But I really haven't brought that back towards myself. And to me, wow, that feels very disingenuous. And it also feels like missing some of the joy that it is that I bring to things. I love to learn. I love to lead. I am, I feel like someone who really appreciates, oh, there's some good thunder, the essence of another person, and can throw out the compliments, and yet bringing them back to myself is difficult. So this episode is about claiming that space of your own growth, like claiming and reclaiming the ability to name your wins, be inspired, and inspire others by doing so. And yes, this is from ego, because the ego is our human self. You are not going to get rid of your ego. All respect to leaders like, or teachers like Eckhart Tolle and those that say get rid of your ego. If you get rid of your ego, you've croaked. I mean, congratulations, you're now non-physical and have completed this lifetime, but you can't get rid of your ego. What you can do is recognize, oh, that's my human side, and it is brilliant, and it might also need some help. So this is coming from ego, but it's also coming from a truth. Our soul comes into our physical cells in order to learn how to expand, grow, and eventually completely align with that soul frequency of joy. So how do we do that if we're not celebrating what we feel to be areas that we've succeeded? Perhaps we're a very kind person. We like that because we definitely need that in our world. So I'm going to ask you to pause. Well, I'll pause, and I'm going to ask you to name one thing you've done recently that you have not acknowledged yet. Say it out loud. Come on. You can do it. Tell me what that is. Say it out loud. Good job. How challenging was that? Did it feel like, yeah, I can go get that. I can speak of what I know to be true about myself? Or did it feel like, whoop, this feels like braggadocious, Vicky. This feels like it's not okay to say. Or maybe it's somewhere along that, beautiful spectrum of light that you're becoming aware of. And it may be that the thing that you acknowledged is easier because it doesn't seem like a big deal to your brain, to which I would say it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Whatever you acknowledge, it's a big deal. Did you drink water today? Congratulations. One of the reasons I feel, and I see this in myself, but I also recognize it in my clients, that we don't toot our own horn or pat ourselves on the back or celebrate ourselves is there's a false idea of protecting others. So we may dim our intelligence, which is exactly what I was doing, right? It dim the work that I have done in going through the therapy and my own, process, spiritual process of understanding my parents or healing after my husband passed or raising two stepchildren that were incredibly challenging and unappreciative. And I very much did that. I turned down how hard that was, even to myself. Talk about the avoider saboteur. I was avoiding admitting how hard that was. So that in some ways is a way to protect others. So if I fully embody how amazing I believe myself to be when I'm by myself, and then I share that, I don't want someone else to feel bad about themselves. But here's something I just said to somebody yesterday is we are not responsible for how they feel. We are responsible for our delivery and our direct words and actions. So if we're walking around in our complete alignment and appreciation of who we are, it can't hurt another person. Now, if they recognize from that they would like that or that they feel a certain way towards us, those are still their feelings. And we can have conversations about them, but we don't have to pick it up. So I'm going to suggest that you no longer have to protect others from your genius, from your brilliance, from your sense of humor, from your artistic ability, your analytical ability. Like you don't have to protect people from your you-ness. And there's some messaging that it's not polite to boast or to brag or to, promote oneself because good girls are polite or that's not what we do. And I respect cultures. I really do. Especially since I feel that I don't really have one other than being me. I create my own Vicky culture. I respect the teaching that's in a culture, and I'm not saying throw that away. What I'm suggesting is that you start to feel it out for yourself. And if it's that you're not speaking of your own capabilities because you don't want to feel like you're bragging, then that is that rub that you bump up against that you can then question, wait a minute, in what way am I speaking of my brilliance and my capability and my light and all of that? If I'm speaking of it in a way that I'm applying for this job, they need to know my capability, need to know my light. They need to know that I am the leader that they're looking for. Or if I'm on a first date, that person deserves to know who you are in your fullest essence at this time before they go on a second date. Because why waste anybody's time? And if it feels like you're bragging because you're in that competition mode, well, then you just zip your lips and your fingertips. That's where you can start to assess, am I speaking of these things because I'm looking for someone to approve of me or give me accolades? That sense of self has to come from within, my friend. We can be appreciated by others, and that can certainly create a ripple effect within yourself, but no one else is responsible for how you feel about you. You are responsible for how you feel about you. So there might be a fear of judgment there that, and in history, let's just say, well, in history, in the now, there are some women who are socially punished for being quote unquote too confident. There is real data to back that up. Had that backwards because Howard was my late husband's name. The Heidi Howard study shows that there's data to back up the fact that women have been socially punished for being too confident. But I would like to enter into this with an energy reference that when you're feeling confident or when you're going for confidence, you are actually emitting that for the sake of other people approving. When you come from a place of self-surety, you're not spewing on another. And again, if someone has an issue with that, you may have to navigate it differently in the business world than you would in your personal life. But that's not for you to punish yourself because other people may judge you. It's again, how are you using that sense of self? How are you being in that sense of self? And if other people have a rub to that, you can have empathy towards that they're feeling insecure, but we're still not really going to take their inventory. And I know that if you may have on paper accomplished a lot, which means you did it in the physical, by the way, you showed up for it, but there could still be some imposter syndrome there. I've worked with plenty of really successful women from the professional level that still feel like they don't know what they're talking about, or someone is going to find them out. That old imposter syndrome, right? So it's important to dialogue with yourself to see and to, I usually have people collect the proof, and that might be their diploma, that may be the thesis, that may be the financial success that they've created. I ask for proof. I'm like, really? Your brain is saying to you that if I say what I've done, someone is going to find me out to not know any. And yet I can show you proof with a simple, search that you've already accomplished this much, but seems like your brain doesn't know that. Hello, judge. The judge will say, don't be too full of yourself. And the pleaser may say, we'll make other people comfortable. The avoider is going to say, just skip it. Just go past it, right? So we all have these saboteurs within us, and that's okay. That's part of being human. But being able to recognize it and say, this is what I feel like I've done. I have proof of that. And now I want to embody it. Now I want to integrate it into myself. And sometimes going to get that data really does help, because you can say to the judge, I've said this to my judge, excuse me, I actually have raised 3 children, have grandchildren, paid off 2 mortgages, and have a more than 6-figure business. I actually do know a little bit of what I'm talking about. And yet it will show up. And that's why I'm sharing this with you now. It isn't possible to always be in that place of belief in self, because if we're doing this well, we are constantly expanding as a human to learn more and more, which by definition means you won't know everything, because you can't know everything and still learn. So I have spent decades strengthening my neural pathways, my emotional core. And I feel that most people see my now and they don't know that, on the floor crying, or the sincere doubt of how I was going to pay the mortgage, or how I was going to get through raising those 2 challenging young men. and how I was going to continue to stay married to the man I loved, but couldn't respect at times. So there's a lot of now that people see, then they don't realize that I've been there and I would completely avoid. But this is where I feel like you too can do a little bit of data search or credit given. What have you been through that you showed up and you learned how to navigate that and not repeat a pattern? It's that resiliency, yes, absolutely. But humans by nature are resilient. It's the willingness to actually put your attention to what's not working and know that you deserve more and want more that helps you develop the tools and reach out to the coaches or the therapist or the accountant or the lawyer or whomever that's going to help you further this beautiful life that you have the ability to be in. And I feel like the more personal reflection that we're willing to do, and that means spending quiet time with yourself, and that means quieting the judge and the saboteurs. And perhaps you take my mindset breakthrough course, because the reason I created that is I know how to get to this place where your saboteurs aren't in charge. They may raise their hand occasionally, but they're not in charge. And that may be the action step that you'd like to take right now, is to sign up for that. I run them with only 10 people. So they are at various times during the year. You can get on a wait list if you've just missed one. So with that, it's understanding that your brain is also going to want to turn down this ability to toot your own horn or shine your light or be you or any of the other euphemisms that are out there. So once you learn, okay, is it the judge? Is it the police? Or is it the controller, the hyperachiever, the hypervigilant? You get to know what you're dealing with and you get to bring it out into the light. And there are moments of our own self-reflection that are going to propel us forward, not just itty bitty steps. I know I totally believe in the micro movements matter, but I also have seen massive shifts in people when we are willing to take the time to recognize what blocked you from sharing something you were proud of. So put this practice into place, okay? The next opportunity you have to share something and you don't, and you can feel like your throat lock up and you're not going to share that, I would love in that moment for you to just take 2 seconds and say, oh, who blocked that? Where did that come from? It may come up with a reference from the past. It may have a personality of someone else. That's okay. That's really okay. We're just looking for a little bit of information here, because until you're able to define what may be in the way, the pain, the learning, the messages from childhood, we don't play the blame game here at Vicky Bear Coaching. We don't do the blame game. We understand what's going on and we use the tools that are available to us, be it intuition or the positive intelligence or other neuropathway meditation, to identify it and then shift. And when you're shifting it, you're moving from that judge self to the wisdom side of you and reframing this idea that self-promotion is awful. It's gross. And I get that there are, let's put quotes around influencers, because honestly, if they don't resonate with you, are they really going to influence you? But I get that there's a big level of self-promotion going on that's not authentic. I'm talking about the authentic self, the knowing of which the beauty that you bring, okay, that you help as a world, in the world. So I would like to reframe this self-promotion as a service. When we own our own growth, it helps others to grow. And when we acknowledge that, yeah, This isn't arrogance, man. It's leadership. It's showing what's possible and becomes very much like that flashlight or the floodlight that lights a path for others. I heard a statistic one time, or a study rather, that if you know 10% more than the person coming to you, you can claim yourself as an expert. So just using that number as an example of, well, if I know 10% more, say when I'm training volunteers at the horse sanctuary, if I know 10% more than them, then I can feel sure about myself and I can feel sure about what I'm teaching them without my, saboteurs coming in to my hyperachiever saboteur from coming in and saying, oh, well, you didn't explain that perfectly. So it's not an arrogance. It's a form of leadership. And you don't have to list your accolades. I'm not saying step up to someone and say, guess what I got on that statistics assignment back in, 2006. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sharing your story. That includes the struggles you've had, the shifts you've made, the freaking sacred mess that you are. Like sharing that connection and sharing how you've traversed it or how you have learned what you've learned today. And it matters because women are more likely to promote others than themselves. But when we do share our wins, it uplifts not only team performance, it uplifts our culture. And I feel like it gives that mentorship that we're really lacking in our life. We're lacking elders. We're lacking that. Who do we turn to that emulate the values and the characteristics that I would like to have within myself? And it's not always up. Like, I have seen so much in my grandchild that when they show their brilliance, I look within myself. And we are actually buddies in that, because I have said to them that I never want you to read something about Nana or hear something about Nana that she wasn't kind to others. And then Kenzie said to me, I never want you to know that I did something intentionally. So we're spiritual buddies in this. And she's 19. So there's a way to mentor all ways in the world, right? So when we do share what we're doing well, it uplifts other people. And the thing that makes me giggle a little bit is when people say, you always look so grounded. You always look so like collected, like that the wonderful co-volunteer said. And I'll say to them, yeah, because my judge shows up and I reset it with PQ reps. I go kiss my dog on the head. I practice Ho'oponopono, which is the practice of total responsibility for everything in my life. So whatever presents to me, I take responsibility in cleansing and shifting. And these things happen in 10 seconds. I mean, we're not talking Vicky sitting outside only for 2 hours straight. I don't have that kind of attention span. I don't know if you've noticed that. That I reset. I constantly reset. And then I know that now that I share that more, and I will do more of that, because the aha moment that I had just yesterday about acknowledging, well, yeah, because I put in the work. Just like I have really good biceps because I put in the work. And my hormones are now balanced because I found the practitioner who aligns with my belief systems as well, but who has the information because she be the expert. So then when I share that, I feel like it allows people to give themselves permission to struggle and then succeed, to really be proud of what we're doing. In my coaching, we call it the happy dance or pat yourself on the back. I ask for that, or I'll say, what were your wins? And it's a way to take a pause and create inventory so that when you're feeling like a slug, like yesterday, I was so toasted, literally toasted because it was 86 degrees. And I was doing, farm work for 5 or 6 hours, then walked the dogs, and then came home and did some more stuff. And by 4 o'clock, I was like, done. I'm done. I'm so done. I took my shower and I was literally that slug on the couch. And I felt so good in that because in the past, I would have been beating myself up for not accomplishing or not addressing things that needed to be done. So that's an example of a struggle that would show up for me. And then I do the PQ reps, and then I did meditation, and then I actually vacuumed the whole house because that felt like a cleansing to me too. And I don't know about you, but right now we are in major shedding season. If you have short-haired dogs, my heart goes out to you because those dust bunnies are starting to be dust kangaroos around here. So things like that, and always being aware of what's going on with myself emotionally when decades before I would have avoided it to the PhD level. What it allows you to do is have that personal insight and that connectedness with yourself so you don't wander too far off the track. So one of the action steps that you can do is rewrite one of your accomplishments as a story. I'm going to give you the parts. So if you're listening and moving, that's fine. Maybe come back to it. But as you're thinking of one of your accomplishments, rewrite it as a story. How do you feel? What you feared? How you got through? And then share it with someone. I would recommend a trusted friend or a partner, someone that doesn't feel like, oh, goodness gracious, you don't have to go record a TikTok video about it or anything like that. I was blessed to be part of a mentorship meeting a couple weeks ago, and we were asked questions, and I'm just now realizing that I answered completely authentically because one of the questions was, it was for young professionals. And one of the questions was, how do you push through something? How do you just make yourself do something? And when it got to be my turn, people are saying, well, I just drink more coffee, or I tell myself this has to be done. And when it got to me, I said, I don't. And the whole table went, what? And I said, I don't. I learned a long time ago that does not work. That feels awful to me. And it's not how I want to live. I don't want to be governed by the negative voice in my head. Now, what I will do is look to how I could be inspired. What can pull me through this? What's the magnet that's available? And that could be part of a story, right? Like that's telling a story and how we learn to be in our lives in gratitude, but we have to be in action too. And there are certain things that have to get done. So, for instance, I have to finish putting plants in the garden because I just kind of plopped them in some dirt the other day so that they wouldn't be stuck in their little plastic containers. And that can feel to me like, oh, I don't want to finish it. But then what's the inspiration? I fast forward myself 2.5 months down the line, and I'm eating fresh vegetables right from my back garden. And I'm excited that the Brussels sprouts did well, and I'm sharing them with friends because I'm the only one in this house who likes them. So telling a story, you can use that in the future too. You can look to what will this look like once I've shared with someone that I'm proud of myself, that I feel incredibly connected when I allow not only my struggles to come through, but my successes. So there could be conditioning there and saboteur patterns that you may think it's wrong to celebrate yourself, but that isn't the truth. Just name it when it shows up. And I actually do say, oh, there you are, you little bugger. Nice of you to show up. I was wondering where you were. And then I'll empathize with myself. I put my hand on my heart a lot. And I remind myself, I have actually efforted. I have worked hard. I'm allowed to be proud of myself. I had a blown disc at one point and could not get off the floor and did not know how I was going to get to my phone because the rabbit wouldn't hand it to me. I remember that pain. And I think that translates to emotional stuff as well. So I'm allowed to be proud of the fact that I did the physical therapy. I did the exercise. I stay active. I don't sit for very many hours a day because I know that my back does not like that. I'm allowed to be proud of that. And I feel like if we all were free to feel proud of ourselves and to toot our own horn and be who we are, this would be a love fest as humans. We wouldn't be telling stories or fibbing or lying or causing problems because we saw the other person as an enemy. We would see them as a co-conspirator of our joy. And you get to explore that. And how else could I share this in a way that serves? Can you think of a population or a group that could benefit from something you've gone through, that you could bring your brilliance and how you can help them? Like I went to that mentor breakfast. Like, I wasn't there to toot my own horn. I was there to say what worked for me. If somebody else benefits from it, that's fantastic. So you'll know when you're sharing from ego versus your truth. You will feel it. I promise you. If you're listening to this podcast, you know the difference in frequency between I am telling someone because I just need to tell everybody I'm all that in a bag of tortilla chips. I don't really like potato chips. I'm going to go with tortilla chips. Or if I'm speaking from truth, and when you're speaking from truth, you're sharing, but you're not looking to the other person to say, good job, you rock, aren't you amazing? So I would love for you to think of one thing that you are proud of right now. Take a couple breaths. Come on, let the oxygen come in. Practice holding pride and presence at the same time. What is one thing that you're proud of? No, you tell that voice that's judging you to step off. Look at it and say, thanks for showing up. I'm allowed to take inventory of something. Good job. Good job. So a few things that could help you. I love the in the moment acknowledgement. You've heard me say before, if you've listened for a while, that I love celebrating when I get all the laundry put away in the same day that I washed it, dried it. I love going through and saying, yeah, the house looks really good now that it's been all vacuumed. I love feeling like I've had a really good physical day and I'm that physically tired at the end of the day. I don't want to feel toast every day, but I want to feel physically tired. So I'm going to encourage you to make a daily habit to acknowledge those things when it happens. This is what shifts your mindset. Okay, you're not going to shift your mindset by doing old practices. You have to create a new habit. So that's one habit that you could put in. An achievement journal. One of my favorite people writes down what she's achieved during the month so that at the end of the month, when she has a meeting with two other favorite people, it's already there. And often there's things on there that would have gotten forgotten. So every week, I want you, at least every week, write down 3, I did this entry. Pretend you're a 3-year-old. I did it. I want 3, I did this entries, including the internal win. I didn't spiral after a tough conversation. Someone actually just shared that with me. She went through the mindset program, and someone else that she was interacting with was hyped. Like, you know, when somebody's having a meltdown because they're just exhausted, but there's been a previous experience of this person could come unhinged. And previous experiences, I mean, in your life where others have come unhinged. And she was saying, Vicky, I didn't get thrown. I was there. I was able to hear her. I was able to help, but I didn't get all twisted up inside. And that's a freaking win. And I'd also like you to pick something that is a visibility thing, right? Like we want this to be visible. We're not going for accolades from external self, but I would like you to pick one thing that you share with your partner, your team, heck on LinkedIn and on social media if you want to, but be willing to put it out there and not look for the likes or the comments. And you could say, here's what I'm working on and what I've learned. So I had to research how to grow Brussels sprouts before I plant them because I didn't want to put them in the wrong garden or do what I did with corn. I didn't plant enough corn. I didn't know that they had to have so many so that they could cross-pollinate. Learned that lesson last year. Not planting corn this year. That we become wise. You just buy it from the friendly farmer down the street. If you can, create a brag buddy. Partner with someone that you know is going to be just as excited for you that you've created something as as they have. And like I was saying about one of my favorite people, her get together with her other two friends. Sometimes they all can't make it, right? But there's an accountability to have it on the calendar to get together to have the brag fest. It's important because sometimes we have to hear things out loud or we have to say things out loud for someone else to say, whoa, that's a win. And then you're like, really? Yes, it is. So you can use your note section on your phone. Tell a friend one thing you're proud of today. One of my friends, when the kids sit down to dinner, asks what was good about today. And I love that practice because it brings that gratitude into your heart. And that's important to do. So let's make this about growth, not perfection. Okay? And when you see other women, I don't care if you know them or not, when you see other women tooting their horn and you're like, that freaking rocks, comment, say something. I love saying to people, that is a beautiful scar. Or how do you know how to style your hair that way? Because that tells me you've been practicing and that's just talent to me. So I love sharing that. I don't need to hear it back. I actually don't want it to be immediate back because that feels disingenuous. But make this about growth and expansion and being willing to share with others, but also being willing to say to others what you admire and then invite her to do the same. It works because it normalizes success stories. And as we use intuition as our success compass, success means something different to every being that's out there, but it'll normalize the success in your life. So you better believe when my Brussels sprouts take off and I have too many that I have to share, that I will be celebrating that. Because in past, I would be intimidated to grow things. So now I feel like I have a much more aligned relationship. And if it doesn't go right, I study the soil, or I actually do realize now that they should have been planted about a month and a half ago, but that's okay. We're going to trust Mother Nature. And the most important thing is you get to inspire yourself to continue to share and to continue to grow. And yes, I do know that it takes being brave, like your knees may be knocking. And you're like, I don't want to be seen. Well, baloney, you're already seen. You're already physical. Shine that light. And you may inspire others by being brave enough to be seen and to embrace your capabilities. This isn't about being disingenuous or loud. It is about being visible. You don't have to scream it. You just have to stop whispering or being silent. Because this is going to help us heal. This is going to send more love into the world. When you have love for yourself, you have love for others. And you have walked through some storms. Just like I'm looking out my window, it is dark out there, my friends. It is dark. You've walked through those storms. And you have helped others while building yourself. And you kept showing up. That deserves to be seen. that deserves to be shared. And it deserves to be loved on. We're making music here. We're not tooting a horn to be loud and obnoxious. We're making music. Horny metaphor that comes to mind. We really need your instrument and the melody that you bring to this world. So, on that note, because I may just very well lose my power, I'm going to sign off, holding all of my power and sharing it with you as well. I will see you in the next episode. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. If it sparks something, pass it on. And when you're ready to go deeper, I'm just a click away at vickybaird.com. Trust your gut, quiet the noise. You've got this.